the light that you have now shone or put upon those who are looking after the purists, the fighters, that light will start now shining on them. Meaning that, the trainers, the handlers, and keep this in mind, wouldn't it be sensible that if a fighter fails a drug test, then the entire team should also be banned? Not just the one. He's not doing it to him. He can't be doing it to himself. He can't be administering himself.
Sure.
He has to have handlers.
Sure.
So if a man is banned, it shouldn't be the boxer, it should be the entire team with the boxer. Okay? Back in the day, I was the poster boy for drug tests. Okay? You could have the drug test before or after the fight. I had it before and after every fight. Because you cannot have anyone, could there be anything dodgy going on with him? So I made sure that I was complete. No one can ever put that charge against me, because they will and they do. And they have done with Conor. But I say to you that there's something that doesn't feel right about it. If you've spoken to Conor, you know that he is...
Hey, and welcome back to number one podcast in the sport, where I'm actually going to agree with Eddie Hearn for a change. I think he was 100% right about Richardson Hitchens. I thought what Richardson Hitchens did was a dog move, and we're going to come on to that. But I just want to touch on that Matchroom card. Once upon a time, Eddie Hearn would announce a New York card, and it would be a big deal. You remember the New York card that was meant to showcase Anthony Joshua? That was a big deal, sadly not in the way that he anticipated. But that's what Hearn always wanted. If you remember in the media, Hearn would say, I only want pay-per-view fights. If you don't have that pay-per-view potential, I don't really want to be engaging with you. We can put you somewhere, but it's not going to excite me. And all this stuff. And, he's living to regret those sorts of words now. So he takes essentially what's a development stable up to New York for a showcase. And headlining is Richardson Hitchens against George Kambosos. George Kambosos must be the luckiest man alive when it comes to boxing. Definitely the luckiest man in the last 10 years. Imagine you're a career stepping stone. You're basically a shrunken Michael Zarafa. And you just catch Teo on his worst ever day. You catch Teofimo Lopez on his worst ever day. But you also catch the Teofimo Lopez who's too stupid to force the immediate rematch and go, let me get these belts back and get my money. So you give Kambosos an escape route to go and fight Devin Haney twice. Now, I can't remember if that was on Top Rank or Matchroom. It doesn't really matter, but you fought Devin Haney twice for healthy six-figure paydays, right? Seven-figure paydays, sorry, not even six. Healthy seven-figure paydays. From fighting Mickey Bay and Lee Selby for peanuts, you've suddenly hit the big leagues. And then you get to fight Loma. And so you go through this whole thing of being elevated because a kid had an off night and you never rematched him. And here you are now fighting a guy, Richardson Hitchens, who the world expects a lot of. But Hitchens still isn't the man yet, not in his weight class. He's still got a lot to prove. Even after beating Kambosos, still got a lot to prove. If he was British, we'd say that he's shown himself to be European level, because I don't think Kambosos is world level at all. If Maxie Hughes can take this guy to the limit and actually probably should have won, then that lets you know what level Kambosos is. Lee Selby showed. A lot of people have shown that Kambosos is not that great. Like most Australians, apart from maybe Opataya. Just a tractor, isn't he? He's just a tractor. Thing goes in a straight line, it spins round, goes in another straight line, and every few 100 miles you got to service it. That's Kambosos, just a tractor of a boxer. So Hitchenson basically beats him up, right? Kambosos is brave and he's tough, like a tractor would be. And but Hitchens, slaps him up a bit. That's the way I can describe it. It slaps him up, man. It was a walk in the park for him. Stopped him with a savage body shot, and takes a lot to break Kambosos, by the way. So that was a really good body shot, because I think he'd softened him up before that, right? Which is something people don't do enough. And I just think people talk about investing to the body. It's not that. It's hurt the guy to the body early, and you know you can always go there. But more importantly, he knows you can always go there. And that changes how he fights. People don't realize that. Once you make them scared of the thing that they weren't planning on being scared of, their whole complexion changes. The direction of the fight changes. And so I found Hitchens and Hitchens gave what I call a professional performance, right? All right, fair enough. Now we talk about you fighting someone reasonable, right? Maybe a Keyshawn Davis, now that he can't make weight. See what you can do. There are fights that can happen for him. Before he gets to that Devin Haney kind of top table level, let him have his moment. So in the ring, he's interviewed, and he thanks Matchroom, and he thanks everyone for showing up in New York. But he on a Matchroom show, in front of the boss of Matchroom, I don't know if he's still chairman, the chairman of Matchroom, he declares that he's a free agent. Now, maybe he is a free agent, maybe he isn't. But he declares that he's a free agent. Why would you do that? Like, people need to remember that Richardson Hitchens I think he was under the Mayweather banner, if I'm correct, right? And under that Mayweather banner, he wasn't going anywhere. His career wasn't moving in any meaningful direction. It was chugging along. You know, the American way, building slowly. But no one knew who he was. He was the hardcore's kind of, how'd you put it? He was a hardcore's friend. Hearn comes and sprinkles that Hearn nonsense on it, which, can help you grow. Right? Everyone will say, Hearn is a king of the verbal magic beans, isn't he, man? He'll turn anything into a beanstalk. So kudos to him for doing that. He builds him up, takes him wherever, Orlando, Los Angeles, where he takes him across America to build him up. And now Hearn's coming out and saying this guy doesn't sell tickets. Well, maybe Mayweather knew that, and that's why Mayweather let you have him. So Hitchens he's not commercial, right? And from everything you see, he shows no interest in being commercial. I thought in Fight Week he was atrocious. I just thought a lot of what he did was in bad taste, was in bad character. Did nothing to help sell the fight. There's lots of stuff that you can say is disagreeable about the guy, right? But Matchroom persists because they're desperate too. They need someone to do something, right? So these guys are both kind of licking the bottom of the barrel, aren't they? But Hearn's put his hand in his pocket for this guy where he didn't have to. Eddie Hearn realistically could build anyone at 140. He could. Let's not pretend. He could have taken that Hitchens money, and put that into Cattrall. Don't know what that would have done. Maybe they will one day. Who knows? But he had options, and he opted to invest in Richardson Hitchens. When someone does that for you, you don't stab them in the heart. And that's what he did by saying he was a free agent. Number one, who's going to sign him anyway? Do you know what I mean? Who's really going to sign him to do what? You'd sign him to feed him to someone. Feed him to Teo. Feed him to Ryan. Feed him to Devin. Feed him to Keyshawn. Feed him to Shakur. Feed him to Tank. That's what he's there for now. When he was aligned to Matchroom, he had backing. Like, there was someone who would have fought his corner. You shout out, I'm a free agent. That turns Hearn off immediately. Because if I was the promoter, I'd have been like, this guy's cooked. So, let me just roll back. Like, imagine you're Eddie Hearn. You've watched Hitchens, really act the fool. After the fight, shouting and screaming at Bill Haney, all this sort of stuff. Childish stuff, right? Just really retarded stuff that isn't good for business. Like, ain't no one trying to see you fight Devin Haney. Who cares? Do you know what I mean? It's not a fight that interests anybody. And you shouting and screaming is not going to make us interested. So instead of us talking about how it was a really composed performance behind the jab, crushing right hands, really breaking Kambosos down, which is what he did. He took his will and his soul. Instead of us going, what performance? Like, can you do that to everyone or anyone? That should have been the discussion point in the ring. And it's, I'm a free agent. And Hearn's just there like, this idiot. Like, you're just about to ruin your career. Hearn knows this. He's like, you're about to ruin your career because now I know I can't trust you. or I can't trust the people around you. And this is an important thing for people listening to this to understand about boxing. The people who carry risk in boxing, in order: the fighter, because they gamble their health. Okay? The promoter, because they gamble their money. The trainer, because they gamble their reputation. Lastly, it is the manager, because they gamble absolutely nothing. Do you know who does the most talking out of all of them? It's the manager. And it's not just the manager. It's all those kind of wallies. This is why when you see someone in a photograph after a fight and there's a whole gang of people in that picture, just know that guy's on the road to hell. He's on the road, or she's on the road to hell. Because those people in that photograph are the worst people to have around you, because none of them has been punched in the face. None of them has seen a fight contract apart from the manager. None of them know what other fighters are getting. None of them know how this game works. But they'll all have something to say. So you imagine you're Richardson Hitchens and you're wherever in New York, Brooklyn, I don't know, man. And it's like, yo, Rich, man, yo, come over here, man. Let me holler at you real quick, man. Come over here. Let me holler at you, man. Let me holler at you. Yo, what they got you on, man? Like, how much they paying you? A word? Word? Yo, you know they're paying Tank 10 times that, man. But you as good as Tank, man. You commercial, B. Look, I'm here. I know you. If I know you and the streets know you, the whole world know you, man. You from New York, so the whole world know you, man. So I'ma holler at you because I'ma tell you, man, like, yo, the white man, yo, the tall white man, yo, man, he got you by the throat, B. You ain't come through all that Mayweather-ish to be dealing with the white man strangling you, man. So here's what I'ma do. Yo, go holler at my man Sharky, man. Yo, Sharky, he real heavy in the streets, man. You know, he got the connect over in Ohio. He got the connect over in Toronto. He got the connect in Colombia, man. Like, he know business, man. He'll come hook you up with a real sweet deal, man. Don't sign to this white man for no other contract, B. I'm telling you. Yo, man, like, word up. Don't sign to no white man for no contract. You know, you a free agent, B. I see it right here, man. Say this your last fight. You a free agent, man. You tell him. You go out there, man. You get that microphone of the white man show in front of all of New York. You say you a free agent. I promise everyone gonna come knocking at your door, B. That's what happens. I know people are gonna go, oh, he's just clowning. It happens. I've seen it happen. Your usual suspects, you know who they are in boxing. They do this all the time. Yeah? You'll have a good win. I saw this happen with a boxer who I'm cool with, right? And he won a title. And I'd been at the previous fights and these people hadn't appeared. He won a title and they all surrounded him. And it's like, yo, I can do this. I know this guy. I do this. I can get this cracking. I can get that cracking. I can do this. Yo, come meet this footballer here, man. And they do all of this stuff to get in your head, but these guys can deliver zero. Yeah? They cannot provide you with a future. They cannot provide you with a pension. They just give you a gang of opinions. And because boxers are A, vulnerable, and B, mostly pretty thick. Yeah, they are. They're thick. They buy into this. And so they say stupid things like, I'm a free agent. Whereas if you surround yourself with the right people, you surround yourself with someone like me, I'd be like, maybe don't say you're a free agent on someone else's show. Maybe thank him and say, what a great show. Because that is the advert to every other promoter to say, I do what is best for business at all times. Because they will know you're a free agent. If your manager's done his job properly, everybody knows you're a free agent. You do not need to announce that. So the fact that you needed to announce that tells me, one, your manager can't get the doors open. Or two, he doesn't want to open those doors. Because the fighter should never be saying that. If there's a deal to be done, it should already be done. And you go to the changing rooms, you shake hands with Eddie and you say, no, I'm going to move over to Top Rank or whatever. You do business the right way, right? You don't humiliate the guy who's traveled all that way, etc. So you don't do that. It doesn't leave a good taste in the mouth. I think the one positive to come out of that was, I think Turkey's almost reassured Eddie to say, look, if Richardson Hitchens wants the Saudi money, he's got to go through you. I ain't talking to him unless he does that. So now you look at the manager, you go, okay, now what? What are you going to do now? Either you told him to say he's a free agent publicly, or you have no control over your fire. Either way, you're a terrible manager. Do you know what I mean? Hearn's done more for Hitchens than anyone else has done. That's not how you treat someone who's done more for you than anyone else. That's one of the few times I want to stand up for Eddie Hearn. But I'm also tired of these whisperers, these messers, these people with their oar in, like the people that were telling Sky Nicholson, oh, you need to change trainers. Why? Who's to say that anyone can get more out of it than Eddie Lamb has? Who? Do you know what I mean? Like, there are so many people with opinions and they've got no risk in this at all. None. And you know why this is hurtful? You will see guys like Gary Logan just walking around boxing arenas. Ain't no one know who he is. All those people that would have been around him with a belt, they don't care. They're on to the next thing. Like, I look at fighters I'm close to. Once the belts disappeared, everyone disappeared. You don't see those people at the football anymore. They're not at this award show. They're not at that award show. They're not being flown out to Dubai anymore. They ain't got the belts. Those same people that they were like, yeah, this is my friend, they ain't there anymore. They ain't there anymore. So what was it all for? Why were you listening to them when as soon as it got choppy, they went? Look, I look at guys like JP. You know, JP's going to make his comeback in about 2 weeks. But I know how many people were offering him stuff like, yo, we can get this done, we can get that done. And no one came through for him. Nobody came through for him. Until he took matters into his own hands and said, hold on, I have relationships with these guys. I never left on bad terms with Frank. In fact, I never left. So let me see if I can link back up with the Warrens. But all those people that had been around and talking, doing this, doing that, all vanished. All vanished. So if you were a boxer and you're listening to this, the best bit of advice I'm going to give you is pick somebody to listen to who was there before the fame and will be there after the fame. That is the only opinion that's going to matter. Your trainer's opinion will kind of matter. Your manager's opinion will kind of matter. Your promoter's opinion will kind of matter. But they all have their own agendas. You need somebody that hasn't got an agenda other than you being the best you can be. That's the only person you listen to. And they should be able to tell you stuff like, don't talk about free agency on someone else's show. Dumbest thing you can ever do. And here's what it's done for Richardson Hitchens. It has said, mate, you're somebody we can't trust. You're not going to be loyal. And when that happens, you go from predator to prey. And he will be prey now. When they can find someone where they're guaranteed to give him a hiding, they'll show him up. So I don't know how long you hold him to those belts for, but it won't be very long. In terms of the rest of the card, who was on? Andy Cruz was on there. They're still calling for Keyshawn Davis, but Andy Cruz was on there. Routine win. Still nothing that screams like elite as a pro. So you're like, okay, cool. Nonito Donaire, the old bones are still functioning, so credit to him. And I keep saying this, as long as the standard in boxing keeps declining, these old guys have no reason to retire. Because I'm telling you now, a prime Nonito Donaire is not letting an old man jump in the ring with him. He's ending it as soon as he can. Cut from a different cloth. Completely different cloth. And then you had Terra Moana, another one of Hearn's Australian heavyweights, who I think will just get found out eventually. Like, a lot of these guys are just converted rugby players, aren't they? It's like basically taking, I don't even know, a Vauxhall Senator and putting like an electric motor in there. Mate, it's still a Vauxhall Senator, do you know what I mean? Like, well, you can put whatever you want in there. It's still a Vauxhall Senator, and I feel the same about these Australian heavyweights. They're just converted rugby players, and when they get touched, they get found out, because there's not enough heavyweight boxing in Australia to filter out the chinny ones, right? You just need as many bodies as you can, so you get what you get. But I think that's enough for that card, right? Not much more to touch on. No, there isn't, you know. I just remember the manager we were talking about when it comes to Richardson Hitchens is Keith Connolly. Yeah, is what it is, right? Just a quick one to touch on. Oscar De La Hoya digging out Eddie Reynoso for fighters failing drug tests. And I'm a bit like, yeah, but you worked with the Reynosos for years. Like, turn that microphone on yourself, Oscar, and ask yourself, why weren't you asking questions? When you had Canelo, why weren't you saying maybe he's doping? Maybe they're doping him. Very quiet when Canelo was your fighter. They're very vocal when he's not your fighter. Got to be a neutral broker in this one, Oscar. Sorry, my friend. We can't listen to you this time. That's why we can't ask questions at your behest, because you were part of the problem for a point. We don't know if you were doping Oscar De La Hoya. That's what I'll say on that. Last one I wanted to talk about, I want to keep this one brief. We just had the Harringay Box Cup in London. And I could talk about the fact that it was empty. Maybe we should. The fact that DAZN made a monumental cock up in broadcasting it. Like, that was definitely more harm than good. And that the quality of boxing is kind of through the floor. And that's the bit I want to talk about. How have we ended up at a point where London boxing is a shambles? How? Like, I'm struggling to wrap my head around it. And so I trace it back to about 9 years ago. So those who know the amateur stuff, and so this is a bit Jackanory, so I don't want to bore anyone. So about 9 years ago, loads of clubs in London, because I can't speak to the other regions, I wasn't there. Loads of clubs in London were like, we need to pull out of England boxing. Sport England is giving this much money to amateur boxing. None of it trickles down to us. We produce most of the guys that do anything in the sport anyway. Yeah. The biggest stars we've produced in the last decade and a half of the Olympics, well, let's say since 2008, been Londoners. De Gale, Londoner. Joshua, Londoner. Joe Joyce, Londoner. They're the biggest stars, right? So there's no like, Finchley here, have some money for producing him. Earlsfield here, have some money for producing him. Dale Youth here, have some money for producing him. There's none of that. So all the London clubs are like, well, what do we need England boxing for? We'll go it alone. And if you go to about July, August 2016, I reckon 80 to 85% of the clubs in London were like, we're out. And then clubs on the periphery of London were like, well, if they're leaving, we're going to have to leave with them. Otherwise, we've got no one to go up against. You're basically taking a big chunk of our future opponents, right? And then if the clubs in the southeast and eastern counties are like, mate, if they leave, we leave. Southern counties have no option but to leave as well. So you'd actually end up, much like rugby did, where you're going to have a split between north and south. And there were a number of grievances on top of like the lack of funding that was coming down, because boxing in London was getting more and more expensive. And there wasn't a plan to protect London boxing clubs, like none at all. England boxing had no ambition to protect London clubs. So that's the main thing. There was no ambition to protect them. And then it was this. People were getting chances at GB because they were geographically close to Sheffield and could just get up there in 40 minutes to spar. So you started to see that kind of shift from, more of a balanced squad in 2012 to then kind of, if you can get up north and you get along with the coaches, you're more likely to get ahead. And London kids are like, yeah, you want us to traipse 2.5 hours each way? How often? On a minute's notice, you're crazy. And so there's all this tension. But London was like, we're out. And a lot of clubs were like, if London's gone, we're gone. Okay? So that was the most important thing. So over time, here's what happened. People started to talk like, well, if we leave England boxing, we won't be able to do the ABAs. If we leave England boxing, we're not going to get kids in GB. Okay? This is what people started to say. And so the argument back was, well, historically, you've never won the ABAs. This is true for a lot of clubs. You've never won the ABAs and you've never got kids into the international setup. You never even had kids box for London. And then people were like, nah, well, mate, got a couple of good uns there. Could sneak them in, you know what I mean? Get them a couple of lucky buys and that, and they'll be all right, you know what I mean? Got a couple of birds and that, mate. Get them through. I mean, get them into GB. And so people's egos started to creep in. And then people started thinking, well, if they all go to this alliance that they want to form and we stay out, we'll be the only club that can get people into the ABAs, into England boxing. Maybe we won't go in. And so that rot started to set in. So London basically ended up splitting 50-50 roughly in terms of the meaningful clubs in London. It's about 50-50. I mean meaningful in terms of legacy. 50 went with England boxing, 50 went with the alliance. Shattered boxing. We didn't work together anymore. Okay? So you look at it now, the Lynn and the Lodge do not go into club sparring. When that used to be the thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, there was all this tension that we've never recovered from. And basically, there was that. Then we had COVID, where people were like, well, I'm not even getting any amateur bouts now anyway, so I may as well turn pro. And you had this kind of massive dilution of talent. And it weakened the amateurs because we lost experience. And it weakened the pros because you put a lot of trash in there. Unseasoned trash. And so now everyone's trying to recover. I think like the talent thing might be a national thing as well, because there are very few standouts now. Very few standouts. And so you get to bring this to the Haringey. And so the Haringey is this weird mix of young kind of novice amateurs who are just like, it's the Haringey, get stuck in. And then people who've been in the amateur system too long and they just stagnated and they got stale. It's kind of what you have, and a few internationals sprinkled in there. But really, from what the Haringey Box Cup used to be, which was show and prove, now it's become just show up. Like, it was important. Like, up until about 2016, 2017, the Haringey was the most important part of the London boxing scene. People say it was the ABAs. On an individual level, yes. But for London boxing culture, it was the Haringey. Like, there'd be loads of people there. There'd be the food trucks. There'd be this, there'd be that. There was a real vibe. And it felt like it was on the cusp of becoming something bigger. And then once the split happened, that was the end of the Haringey Box Cup, and it's never recovered. So basically, you look at it, if anyone's seen any of the videos from the Box Cup, it is essentially boxers, officials, a few friends, a few parents, and basically just loads of space, right? If you're DAZN and you're trying to broadcast that, it looked crap. Weren't many great fights from what I could hear and see. Well, not many great fights. And who knows who won anything? Like, that wasn't even shared. Do you know what I mean? That wasn't publicized. None of it was publicized. So I'm like, well, what was the point in telling us DAZN were going to do anything with it when it turned out to be a damn squib? But here's the thing I wanted to talk about. Stagnation in boxers. Like, there's some kids at the Haringey this weekend that I've trained. And I've watched them just stagnate for about 3 or 4 years. Just stagnate. And accept it. The thing is, they accept it. There's a loyalty to club, there's a loyalty to coaches and stuff, but they accept it. And I watch it and I go, what do you mean stagnate? For me, stagnation is this. You're delivering an identical performance every fight and you're not winning. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're let's say you've been boxing since 2014, 2015, okay? By this point, if you're still an amateur, winning should be easy for you. Like, you should just get in your bag real quick, you know, jump in the ring. You don't need a camp. You don't need nothing. As long as you're on weight, you can get busy because you're experienced at that point. You're seasoned. And so when it doesn't work out, it's stagnation. And this happens a lot, actually, with boxers. It's happened to me before, where I trained a young woman, and I could just see that I'd probably given her everything I could give her. And to get to that next level with the way that I coach, there was a risk of breaking her. But there was every chance she could go to another club in another environment and thrive. And so that's what we had to do. But I see a lot of these young guys, and I'm like, you can't keep saying on to the next one. You can't keep saying better luck next time. You got to look at yourself and go, man, I'm losing fights, I should win. It's either me, it's either them, or it's the environment. But at least two of those things have to change if you want to break through your malaise. And I think you see this actually with a lot of pros as well. When they get comfortable in certain environments, they just stagnate. And it's just about whether they can avoid the person that's going to expose the stagnation. In the amateurs, it's just more pronounced because, like, you can fight Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we can see, and we're like, nah, dude, stagnated. And I think this happens a lot in boxing. Kids go from 0 to 100 real quick because I think 80% of boxing coaches can get you to a point where you can have your first bout. There's a handful of coaches that can take you beyond that kind of year 3, year 4 point, where now it's about the subtleties, the nuance, the magic, the genius. This is where you find out who's going to go far in the sport, who isn't. There's only a handful of coaches in this country, I feel, can consistently nail that. And you'll see them because they show up time after time after time. Off the top of my head, you can think of guys like Charlie Rumble Sr., who produce, the guys like St. Mary's that produce. Jennings Gym seems to be producing a lot now, but Berkeley used to have that on lock. The Solly, Rotunda used to have that on lock. Like, I mean, every year there was a kid that you're like, where do they keep finding these kids? Do you know what I mean? And that's what it used to be. So if we just spin it all the way back, I mean, say, you look at something like the Haringey, and you look and the talent pool's weak. I don't like saying that because the people I know involved in it. And I'm not saying to disrespect it. I'm just saying from where it was to where it is now, it's weak. And will it get better? There's every chance that we could find a new golden generation of kids and it will get better. But if I had a gym in Cleckheaton, if I had a gym in Blackpool, if I had a gym, I don't even know, and let's just say Kefan Forest, if I had a gym in Penzance, would I go through the expense, spend a couple of grand to come to the Haringey? It's not worth it. You could save that money and just put on your own show, get your kids out fighting there. And if you want to know the real sign of boxing's present decline, it's the fact that I can say that. Because if you follow me for long enough, I used to tell people, get yourself down to the Haringey. Now I wouldn't even tell you. Don't even watch it. That's sad. For a sport that we all love, and that's why we listen, right? To say that we're in such a position that our preeminent tournament is a must-miss tournament now. Yeah. But I don't know who's going to fix it. I think, being honest, if you're going to get someone like DAZN involved, you need prize money. I don't see these box cups meaning anything if there's no prize money. Now, can you get sponsors? Boxing's a hard thing to get sponsorship for because no one wants to see their logo there when a kid's been punched into a coma, unfortunately. So there's a lot of risk that comes with it. But that will be it. Like, can you get a company to come in and sponsor kids? And if you win the Class A, whichever the top class is, if you win that, male, female, doesn't matter, you get, I don't know, 750 quid. If you come runner up, you get like 400. You come third or bronze medal, 250 each. Maybe that's what we need. I don't know. But I just don't get it. I don't get it. And I don't get why England boxing aren't scared. I don't get why this isn't cause for alarm, because it should be. You know, we're watching the sport that we love go from being a sport that's participated in by tough people looking to change their lives. Not necessarily from poverty, but just tough people from tough backgrounds who are looking to change their lives for the better. That's what boxing used to be about. Now you got these marketing creatives, you got this. It's a lifestyle thing now, isn't it? Yeah, I box. Yeah, I box. Yeah, I did the Haringey. Yeah, I did the Haringey. All these media professionals, all the models and PTs and social workers, and I don't even know, recruitment consultants. You're the sort of people who only come into a gym now because it's not scary anymore. And that's what's killing boxing. We can talk about the dilution of boxing across all the different dimensions, white collar, etc. We can talk about that, but that's the symptom. The deep roots of this lie in the fact that there's not a gym in the southeast right now that's foreboding, intimidating, or scary to walk into. Until we change that, nothing will change. Unfortunately. And on that note, let me tap out and say, guys, listen. Have a great week. Have a positive week. Hopefully the things you're working for will come to fruition. Take care.